There and welcome to the Wednesday podcast presented by This is Ibrox. I'm your host Kyle McLean, and as always I'm joined by two fantastic guests. It's our good luck charm that was over in Sweden last week. How are you doing, JB?
Yeah, good. Yeah, back in the land of the living after a couple of early starts last Thursday morning, then Sunday morning to get back up the road for the game against Hibs. So no, in a good place, and Rangers set us up for the week, so can't complain.
That's it, exactly. And my second guest is a man who's been looking at photos of Asima and Brest all day. So how are you, Kyran, as well?
I don't know which way I'll take that, but you're not far from the truth. Anyway, I'm doing good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, fine. It's always a pleasure to be on This is Ibrox, especially when Rangers have got another exciting European tie against some pretty familiar opposition. But listen, as always, in the wonderful world of Rangers, there's plenty to talk about this week. We'll begin with something that I did not see coming, and that is the reintegration of Ianis Hagi into the Rangers first team squad. Dujon Sterling signed a new deal, keeping him at Rangers until May 2028. There was a wee interesting comment I saw on the socials from Alan Hutton earlier on. It says that Rangers are picking up momentum. We'll get the guys' thoughts on that. Some of the comments out at the press conference from Jack Butland, thought he had some interesting stuff to say on Robin Proper and John Suter, Philippe Clement as well. Then we'll look ahead to tomorrow night's opponents under the lights at Ibrox. But first of all, begin with a bit of news for me. As I said, expected around 3 p.m. yesterday, Kyran, on the socials, the Rangers team announced that Ianis Hagi was back in first team training. What's your thoughts on this whole situation of events and the way the whole thing's unfolded, Kyran?
Yeah, it's been a long, drawn-out saga with a lot of ups and downs and statements, social media posts, and it's been a bit of a circus, really. So I'm quite glad to see that both parties have met in the middle and we've come to an agreement. With regards to Hagi himself, he's going to improve the squad. Now, let's be honest with each other here. He's not really ripped up trees. I think we can agree. He's had a really bad injury and he's not really had much success in his loan spell away last year at Alaves. So, again, I don't think he's going to come in and he's going to change our season or he's going to change that team. And I'm very interested to find out where folk think he'll fit in to the team. Probably one for the comments to see what our viewers think. I believe that he could do a job for us off the right. I think I said that during the summer when all this was going back and forward, that I don't see him being influential enough in the 10, but I can see him doing a job on the right, having watched him for Romania in the Euros. That, let's be honest, right? Ianis Hagi isn't a limited player, but for the position that he plays, he's not blessed with lightning speed. He's not blessed with aggression or strength. But what he does give you is moments of brilliance when you look at things like last minute against Hibs when he first joined on loan, Braga, that famous win at Ibrox, then Braga away, the pass for Kent. And then during the 55 season, there was a small period where he came up with a few important goals. One in particular was the Hibs one where he botched the knee slide. Things like that is what we need from Ianis Hagi. And let's be honest here, right? He's not going to play every single week, week in, week out. But with how thin our squad is, you look at the weekend, Kieran Dow came on to walk about the park for 45 minutes of the weekend. Do I think he could do a better job than Kieran Dow? Absolutely. So for me, I think, and I really think the fans will take this, because one thing I will say about Hagi, and I think I've said it time and time again on here, his attitude, if any youngster is watching on a player that's going through a bit of a tough time and a bit of a lull in his career, that is how you apply your attitude. I think the only people that will be gutted out this is the B team, who have been on a rare streak with Hagi in the starting lineup.
Yeah, no, that's it exactly there as well. He's been, with what I will say from my point of view, he's been a consummate professional with the B team, but all this stuff in the summer was just absolute nonsense. I don't know if he thought he was, no one's bigger than the club, and to me it maybe appeared as if Ianis Hagi thought he was, or I don't know if it was him or his agent or who to believe or whatever. But listen, JB, I know Jack Butland and Philippe Clement sort of touched on Ianis Hagi, and it was nice actually hearing Jack Butland talking about him coming back into the first team squad. But number one, what do you think has changed in this whole situation? And number two is, as Kyran said, will he be coming back in as a bit of a squad player to play on the right, play in the left, play in the middle?
Yeah, I definitely think he'll be coming back as a squad player. I can't see us building a team around him. I think it's probably a little bit late in the day for that. It does. I mean, it's been very grey, hasn't it, in terms of where the issues have been. So whether there was rumours about owing money to Genk, there was rumours about his salary was due to increase if he played X amount of more games. So I can well believe that we've been looking to tighten the purse strings, as we know with some of the players that we've got rid of. I think if there'd have been an offer in the summer that we were happy with and Hagi was happy with, he wouldn't have been here. I think we're all quite clear on that. But I'm actually looking forward to seeing him again. Whether that's, I think we're all guilty of players become better the longer they're out. And how many times does a player leave the club and then we should never have got rid of him? I mean, I've seen somebody said that Dalcio was running amok the other week playing centre mid for someone in Europe. I don't know who's in the Champions League or whatever, but there's like, should never have got rid of Dalcio. We should have given him a chance. So met him in Florida actually. Well, anyway, that's another story. But yeah, he's can't echo really what Kyran's just touched on there. He's got plenty of ability. I think he'll be a good option for us against teams with low blocks. He just seems to have that eye for a pass. He'll give the ball away more than what he'll retain it, but he'll give you that pass that some other players just can't do or can't see. I think the comparison to Kieran Dowell's bang on in terms of what was given at the weekend. I think he's going to come in really, really hungry. I think he's going to come in looking to prove a point, looking to prove that he should be at a big club like Rangers. You just wonder whether his eyes were opened a wee bit. This could have given him a little bit of a fright, because at the end of the day, he's been in the wilderness, and I think him and his representatives were probably thinking, we'll be all right. He'll get a move on his name. Someone big from Turkey will come in, Saudi, the US, somebody will come in and take him. That's never going to be in question. Well, you know what? It is, and it was. He was getting offered a couple of grand a week to go back and play in Romania. Do you know what I mean? In front of farmers and that. So I think he's I'm looking forward to it. But again, I don't know whether that's just the heart overruling the head. I actually was reminiscing earlier with a 12-minute Hagi highlight package from the 55 season. And some of his little... But the thing is, it wasn't necessarily, again, Kyran touched on, it wasn't his pace, it wasn't his power. It was his subtle little one-touches and his subtle ability to drop a shoulder on the halfway line. And that's the stuff that we have been missing. The amount of players that like to do things safe is scary within the Rangers team over the last few years. So having someone that is prepared to drop a shoulder, someone that's prepared to try and find that little clever through ball, I'm all aboard. So we'll see how he goes. And hopefully we see him get a wee run out on Sunday, because he's played plenty of minutes in pre-season, albeit for the B team. So we'll see how we go.
Oh, listen, knowing Clement, I'm absolutely convinced that Clement is Flemish for cautious, but I don't think we'll be seeing him until he's had a good maybe 10, 20 training sessions under his belt there. But a few of the comments coming in here, JD says, nice to see Hagi get a chance, but performances will dictate how I view him as a player. Hugo Bear says, Hagi will be a good squad player, another option. Scott Hammond says, not that we get many, but we're good to see someone else taking the free kicks. And AG here says, does it not speak volumes that no clubs were interested in the summer? But listen, just before we move away, I just want to pick up on something JB said there, Kyran, and that is the effect in the stands that Hagi will have just coming back. That will give the Rangers fans a great lift, because regardless of what you think of his attitude, is some of his performances, he is one of the few players that I think is universally liked amongst virtually all Rangers supporters.
Yeah, and I think that does speak volumes of him, that he's not all over social media the way Cantwell was. He's not making throwaway comments. He's so grounded. And from the moment he played here, the whole "it's Ibrox, baby, it's different," the whole comment, he just fell in love with the club. And remember, his dad was in the stands that night. And yeah, we are a good pairing for each other. And maybe Hagi's not progressed and developed the way that we thought he would, and the way that world football thought he would, because he has got a tough task living off that name. We do know he's a superstar in Romania, and I think he's still the face of Pepsi over there on behalf of the Champions League. So it's a crazy scenario that we couldn't move him on. But again, I think this goes back to, and if I'm right in saying this, he was Ross Wilson's first signing. Again, a Ross Wilson signing comes in for a big fee on big wages that they'll maybe not live up to, and you find it tough to move them on the way we have other players. That's not Ianis Hagi's fault. That's him basically being a normal human being and taking the money in which he's due. So I completely agree with JB. I think he's going to be a player that's got a fire lit underneath him, that's going to be out with a point to prove, just depending on minutes and to see what he gets and what opportunities that he gets. But you're bang on the money, Kyle. I think people will be the Rangers support will be delighted to see him back, not with the expectations that he's going to be a first team regular. He will be a squad player, but let's hope he kicks on and develops. You just never know with that style of player. He might work in this Clement system. We've not seen this yet. He may work.
Oh, there it's the hope that kills you as a Rangers supporter. But no, listen, I get entirely. No, listen, I get entirely what you're saying. I look forward to the day that Ianis Hagi is back on the pitch at Ibrox, as I'm sure many other Rangers fans are. But listen, JB, I'll come to you in the next point here. The club announced some more first team news that Dujon Sterling has signed a contract extension to May 2028. He said on the matter there, it's good to get it over the line. I'm obviously proud the club have rewarded me because they thought my performances were good last season. For me, it's just about building on that season. It gives me extra motivation that I want to do more. I've got the reward and now I want to repay the favour. It's a great place to work every day with a good manager, teammates, staff and fans. It feels like home, and for me there was no reason to change that. What's your thoughts on Rangers extending the deal of Dujon Sterling, JB?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, to be honest. I didn't see it coming, if I'm being perfectly honest, given the lack of minutes that he's had since the start of the season. But a lot of that has been down to his availability. I thought Clement was quite brutal in his address of it, in terms of he needs to work on being fit and being available to play games. And I thought, it's a little bit of a statement, but I think what you're going to find with the club now is we're not going to get ourselves into the shit show, which is players running the contracts down to the final year. And I think Dujon Sterling's probably good enough to go and play in a championship team. Probably week in, week out, whether that be a top-end championship team. Still not too sure. We haven't seen enough of him, but he could go and get a game for probably most teams within that league. Steady, strong, athletic, ticks a lot of the boxes for what the type of player they'd be looking for. So, given the money that's floating around there, even just signing him up on a couple more years, if we were to move him on January, the summer, next summer, whatever it might be, you're not going to lose any money on him. So having him kicking around whilst he's still developing, I think the fact we've had a chance to, or the coaching staff have had a chance to see him in a few different positions is interesting, because it probably goes to show what he can do. I definitely agree that he needs to find himself a fixed position and kind of stick at it and become really good at it. I actually think his best position for us domestically will be centre half. Just because of the tools that he's got. He's big, he's quick, he's strong, he's comfortable on the ball to a point. He's not going to create you much, but I actually think if we were ever to perish the thought, if we were ever to move to like a 3 at the back, I just think he'd be a dream for us. Someone that could carry the ball out of the back line and give you that third option. I'd love to see that. But again, that's probably being a wee bit too ambitious and moving away from the 4-2. 3-1, whatever it is. So yeah, no, I'm pleased. Again, I think as Clement touched on, we do need to see more of him. He has picked up a few random injuries over his time. I think he had a pulled back muscle. He's broke his arm by the looks of it, or his wrist.
Yeah.
Few little muscle injuries, but that can only be down to the fact that he's had to have been played in that many different positions. And it's all right for us who maybe played 5 aside or 7 aside and go, oh yeah, but you can play anywhere. At this level, you train your body to do certain things, whether that be sharp sprinting, whether it be recovery, whatever it might be. So I wonder whether he's been a wee bit of a victim of that. But no, good on the kid. And as I say, it's probably shown a wee bit of ambition from his perspective. I don't imagine we broke the bank to keep him either. I wouldn't surprise me if he's maybe just on current terms extended. Obviously, the club wouldn't release that. But no, I'm pleased. As I say, I think he's let himself down in a couple of the big games this season. I thought he had a chance at Parkhead to probably really stamp his authority on that game. But a first half booking probably took a wee bit away from that. I used Callum McGregor's goal towards the end. He should have been closer, and he's got to be lifting him there and not giving him the chance to get that shot away. But again, he's still learning different positions and stuff. So yeah, all aboard the Sterling train. So good to go.
Yeah, no, that's that exactly. And Kyran, what the manager said about him signing this deal, he said, we're delighted that Dujon has committed his future to the club. He's become a vital member of the squad the past few years since I came to the club, showing his potential in several positions and always being ready for the team. I know we are going to continue working hard together with him and get everything out of his abilities, and believe he will continue to have a big impact on the squad. The manager's practically set me up for my next question there. Kyran, what do you think his best position is in this team? Because if we're offering contract extensions to guys like this, and again the manager sort of alluded to it in the presser that he's not, there could be a new position ahead of him, but where would you want to see him play? Do you agree? I saw you nodding agreement there when JB threw out the absolute rogue suggestion of centre half.
No, I agree with that wholeheartedly, because that's probably the one position where every time he's played it, he's looked good and he's done the job. If I'm right in saying it, he played it at Parkhead last season. Didn't he get shifted to doing the Scottish Cup final as well?
Yep.
Again, he's decent in the air. He's pretty quick. He's strong in the tackle. He's a good defender. So for now, yes, his best position from what we've seen is centre back, but he's a right back, and this kind of leads to my next point, that I think we've completely mishandled and mistreated Sterling in terms of playing him in all the different positions. At Parkhead, he get found out. He's not a number 6. He's not a centre mid. He had one and a half good games there against Aberdeen in the Scottish Cup final, and then he was dropped from there last season afterwards. He's not a centre mid. He's not a right winger. Like, we need to move away from this. He's been used to accommodate to play Tavernier, and that needs to stop at some point. Tavernier needs to be rotated out. Sterling needs to be played in his position and given an opportunity to win that position. We've got to have a competitive squad. So for me, as a player playing right back, like I said, he's quick, he's strong, he's aggressive, and he's a good defender. Why not just let us see him at right back in his natural position? On the extension, yeah, odd one. Not so much the player itself, but he still had a few years left to run on his current deal. But when you look at it on paper as well, and you think about the transfer window we've just had, that's another player that he's still of a decent age. He's probably coming into his prime. We're not going to have to spend another transfer fee or another signing on fee. And they've probably been clever with the wages. And I think that helps your FFP as well, as we've seen with how Chelsea operate when there's long-running contracts. So, yeah, everything ticks the boxes, but we've yet to see the best of Dujon Sterling, and hopefully kicks on this season. He's not started so well. And I think the comment from Clement that you guys touched on, is that maybe a small hint that he doesn't do enough off the field in terms of conditioning and gym work and doing a wee bit more on his own? Maybe that's where Clement is, because I did find that quite a...
Have you seen the size of him? I don't think the gym work's the problem. Fancy a hook off him.
the wrong type of gym work.
Yeah.
Aye. More ice baths. That's exactly what it is there. But listen, there's quite a few comments in here. Scott Hammond says, hopefully gets a go at right back. Steve G says, every good squad needs a good utility player, and that's exactly what Sterling is. But like, just for me, he's better than he's a better player than a utility player in our squad. Wessel 18 says now is the time to renew Sterling's contract before he becomes the first choice right back. And Paul McGorrigle agreeing with you a wee bit here, JB, and says Sterling is a sweeper. But listen, I'm going to ask you this question because this was something that came up the weekend a lot between Craig and myself, JB, and it was we felt that Czerny and Tav were not getting in each other's way, but were trying to occupy the same space. Tav, as a right back, likes to cut in. Czerny is a right back a right winger that likes to come on the inside with his left foot. Do you think that even having Dujon Sterling at right back that would kind of unlock Czerny's game? Because I know there's been a bit of a frustration with him, certainly in the past few weeks for some Rangers supporters.
Yeah, no, in short, I don't think he would. I think Sterling, if he was to get a shot at right back, would be a defending right back. I don't think we'd be expecting him to be doing the Tavernier stuff. I think Tavernier's kind of set the bar as to what we would want a full back to look like in his prime, in terms of bombing down that wing, plenty of crosses, chipping in with double figures of goals from outfield play. You're not going to get that from Sterling, and I think I might have touched on it on last week's pod. We're not going to get that from any right back that we sign. As I say, Cancelo probably wouldn't have delivered the numbers that Tavernier's delivered. He's just been a bit of a freak in terms of what he's delivered. One thing I have noticed with Czerny, and it might be something that we do need to address, and Big Casa, as I'm calling him, might be the answer at right back. I know we're moving away from Sterling a wee bit. Czerny needs somebody to go around the outside of him, as opposed to somebody that's coming inside. I don't think Czerny's very good once he gets one-on-one and it's an option to go one way or the other. I think he needs that fullback coming around the side to put some doubt in the defender's mind to go, should I go there or should I go there? Whereas if he stands him up, he's not going to go outside because he hasn't got the pace to probably beat a fullback. So he has to come inside, and by that time, your two centre-halves or your holding midfielders come across. So we definitely need to get someone around the side. I did actually do some work today, but I did watch a lot of Czerny's highlights from when he was at 20. Good
to see you've been busy at work today, mate.
I know, I hope no one's watching. And what you see in a lot of Czerny's play is a fullback bombing on, going round, almost giving them that extra man on the wide. And sometimes Czerny would ignore him and go right anyway and go towards him. And all of a sudden, the fullback's then left with two men. And it would like a cute little 1-2, or Czerny would go round and get his cross in. So we're definitely not getting the best out of Czerny at the moment. I'm not saying we should be picking other players to get the most out of them, but I just think where Tavernier is at the moment, he can't run. It's sad. I said it. I seem to be saying this on every pod. It's sad to see it, especially live. You see it even more so because you'd almost just want to fast forward them. Do you remember on the PlayStation when you used to tap R1 just to run quicker? I don't know whether that's still a thing, but he just
pretend like he doesn't still play FIFA, man.
Honestly, I haven't played it. I was more of a PES man, so.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I just think we're not getting the most out of him. Same with Hagi. If Hagi was to come in and play on that right hand side, I think we would need a fullback that is going to get round him, just to give us that extra option. But that said, I think I definitely like the way the club's going in terms of making sure that we are tying people down at the right time. And again, it's a good time to do it as well. We've had a couple of good wins on the bounce, and as much as we talked about it offline, Kyle, I don't think we're pulling up trees left, right, and centre. However, we're winning, we're ticking over, and just announcing a little signing like that, it might just give Sterling that little wee lift, might give him an extra 5-10%. And we're definitely going to need it going into this run of fixtures.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I just want to pick up on this wee comment here, and what a name this is, by the way. Mantis Toboggan MD says Czerny just needs a bit more time, calm down, FS, and we're not writing him off by any stretch of the imagination.
I like him.
Yeah, that's the thing as well about it. And see, when he's had moments of quality, they have been real good quality. We just want him to do a wee bit more of that. And I said he didn't have the greatest game at the weekend, and I just felt him and Tav were overlapping. But listen, before we move on, JB kind of touched on it a wee bit, Kieran, but Clement, when he came in, I think you could see it, and he's mentioned it so many times since the season, the amount of players that went off or were let out of the club let their contracts run down. Do you think we're going to see a wee bit more of this deal with other players in the future?
I hope we do. I think I'm right in saying it's 13 across the past 3 windows that we've watched walk away for nothing. That's not manageable. That's very, very careless in terms of the running of the club and the running of the players, and letting these contracts run down. It's frustrating. I think the next one to be tied down that you might see, and I know there was rumours that we were trying to speak to Suter about getting him tied down for a wee bit longer. Probably another one again that is fits that sort of Sterling mould. He's coming into his best years. I think his form of recent has been decent. I think we're going to touch on that later. For me, Suter would be one. I'm trying to think round the squad as well, who I'd be looking to tie down further. Butland's still got another few years left, so yeah, it's definitely the way to go in terms of structuring your team and having that unity. When you look at the team that went to the Europa League final, that was a team that was built over sort of 3 or 4 years, where the signings had been at the club for a long while, and that was it just all coming together. When you look at guys like Davis, Jack, Arfield, Kamara, Aribo, these were all guys that were brought in the early days of the Gerrard era, and that was it all sort of culminating to come together from a team that had been there, done that. So if we can tie players down that are going to be here for a sustained period of time, then we can start to build a solid spine and a solid team that will be supplemented by two or three quality players each summer. Then it's the way to go.
Yeah, no, it's what we have to be doing. Steve G, I think, sums it up quite nicely, and he says we've let player walk away for nothing thanks to Wilson and co. And yeah, I think when Wilson knew his time was up, it's like he just didn't bother with all these players at the end of it. But listen, I think we'll be dealing with that for a wee while. We'll go on to the press conferences that were today over at the Rangers training centre. JB, I'll come to you first on this one. Jack Butland, Philippe Clement both spoke to them. I thought the Butland, normally the players ones, I'm always like, they just kind of say a lot of the same stuff, and it's just rinse and repeat and a lot of cliches. But I actually quite enjoyed what Butland had to say. I think you could tell he was being quite honest and genuine. He got asked about the defensive partnership in front of him, and I thought it was fascinating to actually hear from a goalkeeping point of view, because I mean, he's arguably the two central defenders are arguably the two most important players to the goalkeeper. But he says John and Robin have both been brilliant. I think for someone like Robin to come in, he's an experienced defender. He's played at some great clubs and at good levels as well. So he stepped in, and I think there's even more to come. What Connor moving on has done, and that's Connor Goldson, has allowed John to play perhaps more on his favoured side, but I think he did fantastic for us in the left his year. So he's someone that gives us everything in the club. I think he's grown incredibly as a defender, and I think he's maturing into a really top centre half, so it's great. I love having him in front of me, and I think as a partnership they're growing, and I think that shows that if the partnership is not quite right, then the clean sheets can sometimes be hard to come by. Listen, I don't think it gets much more honest than that from Jack Butland. But what have you made, especially since Parkhead? That's 4 games. Despite what you think about Rangers playing, it's 4 clean sheets, and all those wins have been built on the defence. Those 2 in particular. What's your thoughts on what Jack Butland had to say?
Yeah, no, I thought he spoke really well. He always does, doesn't he? I think he's one of them guys. I think that he's the type of guy you want round in a crisis. He seems to think he's very much very cool, very calm, he doesn't rush into his answers. He kind of he almost takes you on a little bit of a journey with any of his whenever he's asked the question. Some players are just very direct, and as you said, Kyle, it doesn't feel very authentic. But with him, it just feels as if he just gets it. Do you know what I mean? And he and that's something that that's not something you can teach. Do you know what I mean? That's you either get it or you don't. And I think he appreciates where he is as well, Butland, in terms of again, his career wasn't far from the wilderness after not playing too much for a couple of years. So to come up to us and have that chance. But in terms of his comments around Suter and Proper, I agree. I think it was. We expected quite a lot from Proper, I think. We were almost wanting to hit the ground running. If you think about his first his first couple of games. We wanted him in from day one. We just like, we signed him. We don't care if he's got to put up his furniture from IKEA, get him in. But you do, as football fans, we do lose the human element at times. But I think he looks solid. I seen him really closely up at Tannadice. And sometimes you see something you see things off the telly that you don't see, and he's so cute as a defender. There was a couple of times where Dundee United were breaking down the wing, and he was giving the centre forward a dunt, just on the shoulder, off camera, away from the referee and linesman. But then that gave him that extra 5 yards that he probably needed, because he didn't have the legs to keep up with that forward. And he was in position, cross coming, we cleared it. Just really good. I think he's going to go on to be a bit of a Phil Hollander for us, albeit hopefully stays fit. He's very rugged. You know, when you watch him, when he goes into tackle, he doesn't hold back. He's all in, which I really like that about him. And he can pick a clever little pass as well. So the fact that him and Suter have got that in the locker, I think Suter does give away a lot of easy possession. I think sometimes he does have these brain farts where he just he's got a little picture in his head, and then he just kicks it 5 yards away from where he's going. And you're like, the amount of times I've said over the last couple of games, you've done the hard bit by winning the ball, beating the first man, but then the 5-10 yard pass, you haven't done it. But I think you can't underestimate the fact that he missed a lot of football over the last few years. So hopefully, and I think you used the phrase earlier, if he's coming into his better years, and to Kieran's point, if he's someone that we're going to get tied down under a new contract, I think it'll be good. But no, I think it's something that I know people have been saying, we need to be winning games more convincingly. We need to be putting teams to bed. The 55 season, we didn't put teams to bed. There was a lot of if you look back, there was a lot of 1-0s.
Don't remind me.
At the start of the season, there was a lot of 2-1s. Don't get me wrong, we got it over the line, but it was all built on the fact that we had a really strong defensive record. So I'm all for it. And I like the fact that he's not chopping and changing. I was kind of thinking for Sunday just gone, or even the game in Europe, do you bring Balogun in just to give you that little bit more pace, that little bit more aerial threat? But no, the manager's stuck with them. He's got a bit of a pairing going on. Long may it continue. I think if we just need to make sure, keep a very close eye on Suter. We can't afford for him to burn out, given the fact he hasn't played a lot of minutes over the last few years. So when the time is right, I hope Suter is honest enough to say, I'm feeling it, or I need this. Yeah. Because I know what he did. He said himself when he made his debut against Livingston away at the first game of a few seasons ago. He started the game with a broken foot, but carried on because he knew that this was his big chance to play for Rangers. And as admirable as that is, we can't afford that where we are at the moment. So, no, good on the pair of them. And let's hope we see another clean sheet tomorrow.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Kyran, a few of the comments coming in here. Steve G says, Suter and Proper have done superb, especially Suter when he has to cover for Tav and that right too. Ian McCutcheon says, Suter has improved and been more consistent this season. And I really like this comment from Westall 18. Says, starting to see a spine of a team with Butland, Suter, Proper and Barron. I just maybe want to focus on John Suter in particular. For me, especially in the last sort of 4 games since the defeat at Parkhead, he's really, really come into his own. What do you think that's down to? Just playing naturally on his right side? Is it the fact that, in terms of football, I always think like players that complement each other well, and I think just the style of Proper and Suter, with Suter going and attacking the ball and Proper just, not sweeping, but just sitting a bit deeper, mopping things up. They just seem to complement each other well. What have you thought in particular of John Suter in the past few games?
I think it's a combination of a few things with regards to his form. That yes, he's playing in his natural position, the right-hand side of that defence, but also we've had a wee favourable run of fixtures since that Old Firm defeat that I think we needed as a team to sort of pull things together in terms of how many new signings that we've brought in, and especially that John Suter's now got Robin Proper next to him. Now, after that Old Firm game, and I said it on here, there was nothing that I had seen of Robin Proper that made me think he should start for Rangers. Now, I think I've went 360 on that opinion that we're starting to see the best of him. There's been a couple of sort of last-ditch blocks. There was one at the weekend in particular where he's just threw his body in front of it. And I think that's a really good thing that we have. Now, I think, am I right in saying, has it been 6 clean sheets from 7 that we've had?
Yep.
So tomorrow night's the real test. I'm seeing a lot of comments here about Tav's the weakness, how to sort of covering Tav, this, that, and the next thing. So tin hat on here, I thought Tav defended very well at the weekend. I thought he kept Junior Hoylett quiet. And defensively, I thought he was pretty sound. I know he has a worry sometimes at the moment, but I think he done okay, and the clean sheets speak for themselves. But we did go through a phase last year of clean sheets, then it sort of all fell apart at one point. I just hope that we don't get to that stage. And maybe to protect that pairing, one of you guys just said it, that I think Balogun is a wee shot in there, because let's remember as well, like Balogun is pretty much a favourite of Clement's. To keep Balogun out of the team is saying something. So, excuse me. So for me, long may that partnership continue, because any successful Rangers team that I've ever seen has had a successful pairing at centre back.
Yeah, listen, I totally agree. That Alec Ferguson quote never ever fails to leave my mind, and it's titles are won in defences. So, you've got to have a good spine of the team to get anywhere in football. But listen, there's a wee comment, JB. Paul's asked it a couple of times, so I'm going to ask you. Paul McGorrigle here says, and hi Paul, he says, Kyle, thoughts on Bayrami so far? I think he will be class for us. So you want to go and answer Paul's question there, JB?
Yeah, no, I think I like the look of him. Some really tidy touches. I don't think he's probably doing things a wee bit safe at times. But then you're just seeing the moments of magic. And again, similar to what we said with Hagi earlier, I think he sees passes that other players just don't see. I think it was fascinating to watch him in the flesh against Malmo last week. Some of the stuff he was doing, you're like, again, without referring back to playing computer games, you could see the pass, but could he see it? Because you were sitting further up. So some of the pings he was putting through, and his weight of pass is stunning. Yeah. The one he laid on for Big Casa, the one he put through for Czerny, laid a couple on for Dessers. He's just got it. Do you know what I mean? So again, I think if Lawrence wasn't doing what he was doing, I think he'd be in the number 10 position already. When I watched them, I think I referenced this last week, I watched them against for 60, 70 minutes against, I think it was it Georgia in the international break, just after he signed. And he played on the right of a 3, and he was immense. He's not the quickest. He's not going to be running past people and hitting the byline. But he will. He's going to contribute. He's going to be one of them players that I touch on every week, where I say about we need to get players who will get us numbers. He definitely will. He'll definitely hit. I'm quietly confident he'll hit double figures in assists, and won't be far away from double figures in goal contributions eventually. Whether that comes this season or a bit of a settlement period, but I really like the look of him, and yeah, can't argue with Paul there.
Yeah, there we go. A couple of comments in here. JD says, so confusing with a JD and a JB tonight. But first game he played, he wasn't wearing his shooting boots, but that changed when he played Malmo. And Luke Gibson here says, build around Bayrami. And Paul says, Bayrami is playing left because Cortez and Rabi are out. He will be rotated into the 10 position. And RFC 72 says you should probably have double figures and assists already. But yeah, that would be amazing. But he looks like a player that's really going to fit into the squad. And it's very, very, very early days, but it seems like the recruitment team has done a real good job in terms of that one there. And we said he had to come in. If we're spending that outlay in a player, they have to come in, they have to hit the ground running, and it looks like the backroom team, hopefully I've got this one right. But listen, we'll move on to tomorrow night's Europa League game under the lights at Ibrox against Lyon. Obviously we know we've played them a couple of times before. Was it a couple of years ago? We played them 2 years ago in the Champions League, not the Champions League, the Europa League, and then obviously that famous away win in 2008-2007. But Kyran, interestingly enough, on social media, I saw some of the comments describing tomorrow night as maybe a bit of a free hit. I'm not sure I necessarily agree with that. What's your thoughts on that?
I think that everyone should live on the basis of Rangers European nights being a free hit and having zero expectations, because honestly, see the highs when we actually do something, they're unbelievable. And that's just the way that I've been for a long time. It's funny you say there, Kyle, about the away, the famous away win in 07-08 against Lyon, but the less famous away win against Lyon was the one in the Europa League run, where we fielded a sort of weakened team because we had more or less conceded that we were out the tournament and somehow beat Lyon to go through, and the rest was history. We went all the way to the final in Seville, and like, it's funny, like, folk don't really talk about that. So the last time we met Lyon, we actually beat them. So it's
just to step in there. So what you're saying is that every time Rangers beat Lyon, they make a European final.
I may be saying something along those lines. I wouldn't want to.
Sorry, in you go. I interrupted you there, Kyran. Apologies.
No, they're going to be a good side. It's going to be a tough task, as it always is. They're a top side, and they've been a top side for a long time. I know they're going through a wee bit of turmoil just now, and maybe the form isn't quite there, but you just need to look around the squad, and there's a few household names in the football world there in terms of... I'm lost now after saying that. Lacazette, Zaha, the boys in the middle, they're a good side, and it's going to be a real test for us.
Yeah, a lot of people in the comments saying very similar. Dado Purcell's Blue Boots. Lyon are a great team, but they're fragile. Steve G says Lyon have conceded 11-7, while we have conceded 7-11. They're there for the taking 3 points, and we move on. JB, what are your expectations for a game like this tomorrow night? Because it's such an odd one. Like, reading the sort of form book, Lyon have had a pretty sort of mess start to the season. There's been a couple of times where they've been like at the weekend there. It was a brilliant goal, but it was a 95th minute winner to go there. Paul here says in the comments, Lyon have spent 188 million pounds rebuilding, where we spent 14 million pounds and 12 players. Is this a free hit? Do you see it as that?
Yes and no. Yes, in the fact that we won that winning last week has kind of just it's put a different spin on this game, because before you go into any games, you want to win your home games, and then whatever you pick up on the road, you pick up on the road. So the fact that we've been able to get to win that one last week, I'd very much then be targeting Union Saint-Gilloise, or however you say it, and Steaua Bucharest. So if we can kind of earmark them as your 9 points, which will probably see us at least to the middle section, the playoff section. So these type of games, if you can get something, then great. But I think we just need to balance it with it not being too downbeat if things don't go our way. Do you know what I mean? As someone just touched on there, they spent 188 million in the summer. Now, how much? Sometimes these French clubs and some of the signings that you see going on, the quality's not always there for the price that's been paid. A bit of money laundering suspicions, I suspect, but definitely think with these guys, we just need to go in and give it a right good go. We just need it to be a Thursday night Rangers night. See what we can do. Work hard, do the basics right. If we get chances, take them. If we make mistakes tomorrow night, we will be punished. Do you know what I mean? So some of the stuff that we maybe get away with domestically, you won't get away with. But I'd like to think there's enough know-how and enough energy kicking around that squad that they'll know that. There's a lot of players that played at a decent level. Obviously, Tab's probably the only one left from the European run now that we've got rid of the likes of your Scott Wrights and one or two others that were kicking about that successful period. So I think it's going to be an interesting one. We have to see where we are if we want to see ourselves in the Champions League. We see ourselves as a potential Champions League club going forward. These are the type of stepping stones that you need to show. You know what, we can compete. Are we going to go out tomorrow and win 3-0, 4-0? No, we're not. Are we going to dominate the game, dominate the ball? Probably not. But what we need to be ready is when we are in possession, we need to be brave. We need to work for each other, and the fans need to do what they do on a Thursday night. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Some good names. Kyran touched on a few there. It'd be really interesting to see what their manager goes with, whether he will go with the experience. Because if anyone that's been to Ibrox on a European night will know it's going to be absolutely bouncing. So a couple of older heads in there will be interesting. I do fear, me and my dad were talking about this, we do fear Wilfred Zaha running at Tavernier. So it'll be interesting to see how we combat that. But that's a perfect example of having the three at the back and having Sterling sitting behind Tav. Do you know, it just screams of being too good to be true with the personnel that we've got for games like this tomorrow. And if he goes with the three at the back, I'm going on a bit of a rant here, but if he does go with the three at the back here at this type of game, the fans will let it go, because the fans will go, you know what, you've tried to you can see you've tried to combat that. However, if we make the same mistakes that we make, or if Tav gets roasted inside out down that side, or even Hefty on the other side, you're almost going to say, well, we can't be shocked. Do you know what I mean? But no, as I said earlier, looking forward to it and going into it quietly confident because of the fact that we've such a good result last week, and the European games we've competed since Clement's come in, whether it be Benfica, home and away, and any other tests that are going kind of in front of him. And winning last week, I think, will only give the players a lift. Diamandi's had a wee rest in the weekend there. I don't think there was ever anything up with him, to be honest. I think that was just a bit of precaution. So yeah, no, bring them on.
On your point there about the fans, JB, and Ibrox being rocking, right? I think it's been overlooked slightly that for most of this team, you look through that team in terms of Barron, Hefty, Proper, Cherny, Bajrami. None of these guys have experienced a full house rocking at Ibrox on a Thursday night. Like, their tails are going to be up. We will be up for this. The adrenaline will be pumping with these guys. You're probably going to see some big performances tomorrow night. And I really hope we can get some sort of result, even if it is a draw. Not forgetting that Lyon are a quality side. But I think the fans are going to play a real big part tomorrow night. I think there's a full tifo organised for the Copeland, as opposed to the usual Brimlin that we're used to. So a proper European night at Ibrox coming up.
I know. I'll need to remember that. I'll need to remember to turn my camera the other way to take a picture of that for the TII socials. But Kyran, I'll stick with you there as well. JB sort of touched on it a wee bit there in terms of Diomande being back fit. I think we're all just so conditioned as Rangers fans. I wasn't. I watched the presser obviously after it was released on YouTube and stuff like that. But when the tweets were coming through from the club on my phone, I just saw Diomande and I just assumed that that was us being told that he was out for another, 6 to 10 weeks or something like that. But to hear the Clement saying that he was actually fit, he would be back in the squad. How important is he going to be for us tomorrow night in a game like this? Especially because I think he's done really well for us on the European stage so far.
So I look back at that Benfica game. I remember home and away. I thought he was excellent, and he's just a young guy. Remember, with a lot of games under his belt. Now there was a lot of criticism for him, and people were doubting his form leading up to sort of the past few games. Bear in mind, this is a guy that's in development, and we hope to sell on in the future once he hits the heights that we know that he's got in the locker. There's bags and bags of potential there. So. Him as well. I think being missing at the weekend shows how important he is to our team, because we didn't operate in the middle the way we should, and I don't think we've seen the best of Barron at the weekend without Diomande beside him. So we talk about Suter and Proper being a partnership. Barron and Diomande have carved out a pretty decent partnership in there as well. So they're definitely our first choice pairing in the middle at the moment. So for me, Diomande is so important to everything that we do in terms of a player that can take it on the half turn and sort of get us up the park quickly. And he's deceptively quick as well. I think a lot of folk don't talk about that. He can get away from his man pretty well. And you talk about technical ability, first touch and sort of spinning and getting out of tight areas. He's first class at it. And as well, I don't know if you've seen the Rangers socials video their way in the other night, JB. I'm sure you were singing along the Diamandi tune along the lines of the same as the Giovanni Van Bronckhorst tune. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, you should have seen the smile on his face. And
really?
The security had to drag him back in, like, because he would have sat there all night. It was really nice to see, actually. Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah, he just seems like a really good lad to have round about the club. But listen, GB, there's obviously we've already sort of touched on it. Lyon they're just such a weird squad, because I was like, how is this squad with players that like this not doing better? You know, some Gift Orban, a player were linked with many moons ago. That is the only reason I know that name. We've obviously talked about Ben Rama, who obviously used to play for West Ham. Zaha as well, we know him. Lacazette. But two of the players for me that I think are going to stand out tomorrow night, the guy that scored the winner for them at the weekend, Malik Fofana, a player that Philippe Clement really knows well, left winger, pacey, Belgian player. I'll be fascinated to see how we deal with him tomorrow night. But one guy, Ryan Shekri, who when I was looking at it, I was like, he's still at Lyon, but he's only 21. He's one of these players that seems like he's been around forever. How important are Diomande? And because a lot of their he's been coming back from fitness, a lot of their play, especially at the weekend, and I believe he scored against Olympiacos as well. A lot of the play goes through him. How important will Connor Barron and Diomande be in sort of neutralising him in the 10 position?
Yeah, super important to think in terms of the movement that we're going to need from them guys. I think one of my big concerns going into tomorrow is probably Tom Lawrence, in the fact that I think we could do with another worker in there. We could probably do it, and again, I feel as if we say this every week, and it doesn't change. But my fear is that midfield could get overrun. The movement and the pace and the energy and the physicality of these guys is going to be unbelievable. I think it might be too much for Barron and Diamandi, with all due respect to them. Barron will fire into tackles. Diamandi gets stuck in, but having that physicality is where we sometimes do struggle, or certainly with players that have got really good movement. These will have really good movement. I was quietly confident when Lyon rocked up to town in that Europa League season that Kyran touched on there, and they were class. Do you know what I mean? I think it was a Cambi, was it, the left winger?
Yeah,
he scored an absolute cracker, and that team was full of quality. Bruno, who's now at Newcastle. Boateng was in there. They had Emerson, who went on to do well. Paqueta, I think, was there as well, who's at West Ham now. So if you go through that team, they were just class. But what caught me eye was our midfield on the night could not get anywhere near him. And that was a midfield from memory. I think it was Lundstrom, Davis, and Kamara. So you go, there's a little bit of everything in there for us. But they absolutely bullied them, and we got ran ragged on the wings. So going into tomorrow, I would like to see an extra man in that midfield three. Who that is and what that looks and feels like will be interesting. I'm probably reading too much in the fact that Tavernier finished the game in central midfield on Sunday, albeit it was only for the last few minutes while Big Casa came in at right back. But I would like to see another man in there. I don't think Raskin pulled up any trees that you would be saying. If you'd have asked me at the start of the season, pre-season, a midfield of Raskin, Diamandi and Barron going into a European game, 3 really busy, fit young lads getting in and about everyone, you'd be quite excited about that. But I haven't seen anything from Raskin yet that says, you know what, he's in for a start or whatever. So, no, I think we'll, going into tomorrow, I'm not too concerned. I think the crowd will be the extra man for us. It's just whether that physicality piece. We're not a very big team anymore. You know, if you think back to years gone by, we've always had some big fellas in there who'll give us that extra aerial option. Even Joe Aribo was always a bit of a free hip for us in terms of both boxes, and he played on the wing. We had 2 really dominant centre halves throughout the years as well, whereas I don't think we've really got that now. 2 really good footballing centre halves, but I probably wouldn't put them under the dominant category. So yeah, I think we just need to, get off to a good start as long as the fans are up for it. Hopefully, no early goal against. And if we get, I think if we can ride the game out and the fans can see that the players are giving it their all, yeah, could be in for a good night.
Yeah, no, fingers crossed. And just to pick up on something you said there, in terms of your Raskin chat, I found what the manager had to say in his press conference on Raskin today very, very, very interesting. In terms of there's one or two positions that he might be playing. But listen, Kyran, I think just before we wrap it up, on these big or the days before the big European games, I always like to get a predicted lineup. From people, so how would you line up against Rangers? And I'm assuming you're going to keep it at I've seen a couple of suggestions that we need to change to a 3-5-2, but I'll eat my hat if Clement changes anything tactically. But how do you see us lining up tomorrow?
It doesn't matter what I say, because this isn't going to be how we line up. Like, nobody. Predicting a Clement starting 11 is like predicting the lottery numbers every weekend and getting them right.
Too hard.
So if I was to pick it, if I was to pick it, what I think he might do, it would be Butland in goals, Tav right back, proper sort of centre back, Jeffrey left back. You're probably going to see Diamande Barron in the middle with Lawrence in front, Bajrami off the left, Dessers up front himself, and Cherny on the right. More or less the team, Jeffrey aside, that played against Malmo. That's what I think, but that's not what it will be.
No, so before I get to a few of the comments here, bringing up their teams, I'm going to, because this name features Casemiro is an odd signing, but he's looking promising. Their scouting department is doing well spotting these gems. Feyenoord fans didn't seem to rate him. I know it's been one game, but are you not including Casemiro in there at all?
I wouldn't say no to it. I thought he was solid against Malmo. Absolutely no threat down his side whatsoever. He fended off everything. So I wouldn't be completely against it. I don't know if maybe Clement goes Bajrami in the 10, Jefty on the left and Casemiro on left back and give that bit more cover, the way that sort of JB was talking with Sterling and Tav on the same side. Maybe I might look to do something like that on the left. Like, I wouldn't rule it out completely. Like I say, Clement's team selections are wild. But you know what? It'll be Kieran Dow on the left, McCausland on the right. Maybe I can man through the middle. Who knows?
I know that's that. And JB, what's your predicted lineup for tomorrow night as well?
Yeah, fair enough. Kane just stole me thunder there. If we're going to do something a wee bit outside the box, I think big Casser in at left back and Hefty in front of him. I think that would make sense in terms of just keeping things nice and tight at the back. Casa wouldn't need to do a lot of running. Just keep it tight, keep it Tav will naturally go. So got kind of no concerns with that. So then if you keep that solid back three at all times, because Hefty, you're going to want him to be getting forward. I haven't got a lot of faith of Hefty bombing forward and Tav bombing forward at the same time, because only one of them will be able to make it back into position. So I'm seeing Bajrami in that number 10 position. I think would be a really interesting one. Lawrence has played a lot of football, so it's not a slant on him or what he's been delivering over the last few weeks. But I definitely think it'd be a good time to see Bajrami in that 10. He's played a lot of football over the last few months, big European games and stuff. So. And he's that's been balanced with a couple of half appearances for us as well. So, yeah, I don't think we'll be too far away with probably one or two selections.
Listen, you never know. This might be the week that somebody from This Is Ibrox predicts the correct starting 11. But listen, a couple of the listeners and viewers here, JD, who thanks for your comments tonight, says Butland, Tav, Suter, Proper, Jefty, Barron, Dio, Lawrence, Bajrami, Cherny, and Dessers. Luke Gibson, Butland, Casemiro, Suter, Proper, Jefty, Barron, Sterling, Diomande, Cherny, Bajrami, and Dessers. RSC72 says, I'll go bold, Butland, Casa, Suter, Proper, Jefty, Barron, Sterling, Dio, Bajrami, Tav. There's a lot of shouts there. I agree with you in terms of Bayrami starting at the 10 there. We discussed this at the start, didn't we, JB, about going for a score prediction, but seeing as we didn't do it last Wednesday and we did all right, we're a superstitious bunch over here at TII, so I think I think we'll just about wrap it up there. But listen, as always, thank you to both my guests tonight. I thought that was a really, really good chat, as always, and thank you to all the viewers, listeners out there. Tomorrow night it'll be myself and Tommy. Got the pleasure of covering the Lyon game. We'll see how that goes. We've not got a bad record going to these games, so you never know with these things. But you can catch us on all the usual places. Catch us on all the in terms if you want to listen to us in audio, we're on Spotify, YouTube. Give us a wee like and give us a wee subscribe. And take care, everybody. And we'll see you all again soon.